UFC Fight Night Vegas 59, Santos versus Hill takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Mayra Bueno Silva versus Stephenie. I am actually going to be going with Mayra Bueno Silva here. The majority of people are actually picking Stephenie as an underdog, but I like the favourite here in Mayra Bueno Silva. I feel as though she's very, very tough, very hard to put away, very hard to submit as well, because she does have very good jiu-jitsu, and I think that's going to be the difference here between Stephenie recent opponents compared to Mayra Bueno Silva. I just don't see Mayra Bueno Silva giving up early on, and I can see her pushing a pace in the later rounds and trying to make this a tough fight like she did against Manon Fiorot. I know Manon Fiorot isn't really going to be the type of girl to take her down to the ground. She's more of a striker, but even in a striking department where Mayra Bueno Silva doesn't really thrive because she's mainly a jiu-jitsu type girl, she was able to hurt Manon Fiorot a couple of times to the body, pressure her in the later rounds, show a really good pace after taking a bunch of side kicks to the body herself, and she showed that she can tough stuff out and get into those later rounds and make stuff happen there. So I am actually going to be going with Mayra Bueno Silva. She submitted Gillian Robertson, who's very good at submissions. She submitted some other girls on the Dana White Contender Series. She got a ninja choke. She submitted Mara Romero Barella by first round armbar as well. Like, she's got her own submissions in her career. She went to a draw with Montana De La Rosa, who's quite good herself. She's coming off a win over Yanan Wu. Didn't look too great, but showed that toughness again to grind back a win, and she still won it, in my opinion, quite clearly, 2-1. But Stephenie, Jessica Rose Clark, welcome to the club, barring her in the first round. That doesn't look too impressive anymore. And I just feel as though that Mayra Bueno Silva is going to be able to tough out the positions, maybe be put on the ground, but if they get onto the feet in the second and third, I see Mayra Bueno Silva winning this one 29-28 in the later two rounds. Moving on, up the card, Cory McKenna versus Miranda Granger. Again, I disagree with the majority here. 83% of people are picking Cory McKenna on Tapology. I'm picking the underdog of Miranda Granger here. First of all, when you don't really know, it's always nice to go with the underdog in a women's MMA fight when they don't have too much evidence on them. Of course, we've seen a lot of Mayra Bueno Silva and Stephenie, not so much from Cory McKenna. But I'm going to be going with Miranda Granger here because Cory McKenna lost to Elise Reed, and that shouldn't happen. That just shouldn't happen. And she barely got a win over Kay Hansen, and that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be barely getting a win over Kay Hansen. Barely getting win over Vanessa Demopoulos, who arguably should have lost her last fight to Jin Yu Frey. I feel as though Cory McKenna, although young and maybe has a chance to massively improve, I'm looking at some statistics here in this fight. 5'7" versus 5'3". Okay? 68 inches of reach to Miranda Granger. 58.5 inches of reach to Cory McKenna. She has some of the shortest arms in the sport. This could be wrong and measured wrong, but still, even if you give McKenna an inch of height and 2 inches of reach, it's still going to be a bit of a disparity in terms of size between them at women's strawweight. So I feel like Miranda Granger is going to be too strong, and I think she's going to win the grappling exchanges. If Kay Hansen can make it close, if Elise Reed can even make it close as well and win against you, I feel as though Miranda Granger is going to be able to do one more. And I look at some of the recent opponents of Miranda Granger. Sure, she lost to Ashley Yoder, but Yoder's rangy and tricky for the division. And it's not a good loss, don't get me wrong, but she's had 2 years since then to improve her game. She's in her prime at 30 years of age. She's going to have that menstrual strength going into this matchup that Cory McKenna doesn't. And she lost to Amanda Lemos. I don't mind that. Amanda Lemos since then has gone on to do very well. She beat Hannah Goldie. She beat some good opponents in the regional scene as well. She's had an amateur career. She went 5-0 as an amateur. I feel as though I'm going to go with Miranda Granger as an underdog against Cory McKenna. It makes sense to me. Moving on. Jason Witt versus Josh Quinlan. I'm going to go with Josh Quinlan. Not only do I believe he's going to KO Jason Witt in the first round, because Jason Witt's chin is very, very suspect, and you know, he's been KO'd a lot of times in his career. He had a tough scrap with Bryan Barberena where he got the win, but Bryan Barberena's not really got that one-punch power, so if you can grit out a fight with him, you can actually get the job done. I just feel as though Josh Quinlan's going to be too explosive early on, for more reasons than one, because I don't know if you guys know about Josh Quinlan from the Contender Series. Tested positive for roids. No tainted supplement-ness, no anything to do with anything else. No, genuinely, this guy got popped for taking roids, and they still kept him in the UFC. So if that don't tell you all you need to know about USADA, I don't know what does. This guy's on the sauce, and you can tell it, and he's very explosive early on, and he's got a lot of first round finishes, and he had a great first round finish on the Contender Series as well, and I feel as though he's going to get a first round finish here against Jason Witt. I think this is a pretty straightforward pick. He got a nice first round finish on the Contender Series, got overturned because of his roids. He's got submissions, he's got late finishes, he's got early finishes, he's got an amateur career as well, even if you think, he's only 5-0. So I feel as though he's going to get a first round finish here against Jason Witt and get that KO nice and early. With those early UFC debut jitters, I think he's just going to go out there, be a bit of a maniac and get it done. Moving on to another fight on the card, which is Bryan Battle versus Takashi Sato. I feel as though Bryan Battle, I don't know why he's still on the prelims, in all honesty. If anything, the current tough guys should be on the prelims, and he should be on the main card. He's 2-0 in the UFC, maybe 3-0 now, so, well, he's looking to be 3-0 here against Takashi Sato. I feel as though he's going to get this one done against Takashi Sato. Bryan Battle does something in fights to try and win. That's the main takeaway that I'm seeing here from Bryan Battle. He beat Gilbert Urbina, he beat Petrosky on the show, and Petrosky's gone on to do quite well himself. He beat Tresean Gore, doesn't look too good in hindsight, but with Bryan Battle's style, it is impressive. Brundage is an explosive guy, so he could win that explosive battle with Tresean Gore. The fact that Battle's a guy who has to keep his range and use volume, and he's fighting an explosive guy like Gore, and he can still get it done. That's what made him look so good in that matchup. And now he's moving down to welterweight as well, so his reach is going to be better for the division. I mean, look, he's got a 4-inch reach advantage here over Takashi Sato. He's going to be taller than Takashi Sato as well. He always had a little bit of blubber on him at middleweight as well, so I feel like that's going to be trimmed down. We're going to see him in the best shape of his career. And I feel as though Bryan Battle is going to have a good performance here. Takashi Sato doesn't do anything to win. That's the difference here. More than anything else. More than this and that. And he's moving down. And he looked good against that guy. Looked good against that guy. Takashi Sato doesn't try to win. My opinion. He didn't do anything against Miguel Beza. Barely threw shots. And then lost that fight as well. Was able to beat Jason Witt. Who can't beat Jason Witt by first round KO? Name me someone, please, other than Bryan Barberena. And then we look at some other performances of his career. He had some good ones early on. Obviously got dominated by Bilal Muhammad. But I feel as though this is going to be a Bryan Battle win over 3 rounds. 29-28, 30-27. Maybe Sato will rock him at one moment or have a moment of success. But I feel as though Battle's going to be too good at range. And he's quite good technically as well. I like his style. Bryan Battle gets it done. Moving on. Terrance McKinney versus Erick Gonzalez. I'm not sure about this one. People complain about Paddy Pimblett getting some easy opponents. Sheesh! Terrance McKinney has been given a layup, and if he fails this, I don't know, it's a real bad look. This is one of them fights where, sure, it's an easy win, but if you lose, it's bad. It's real bad if you lose. I'm picking Terrance McKinney. Shock. Over Erick Gonzalez. Erick Gonzalez shouldn't be in the UFC. His nickname's the Ghost Pepper, which is, you know, whatever. I just feel as though he's not going to win here against Terrance McKinney. Got KO'd by Jim Miller. Beat a couple of bums on the regional scene. 5-3, 6-5. And then he beat Humberto Bandone on the regional scene. A guy who was on the Contender Series. Actually was in the UFC, I believe, at one point. Or close to being in the UFC. Yes, he was. He was in the UFC. Lost all of his fights in the UFC. Got cut. And then now, you know, Erick Gonzalez got a win over him by decision. Or he lost to him by decision. Sorry. Lost to him by decision. And he lost to Rafa Garcia by decision as well. And I'm not seeing these guys on the same level as Terrance McKinney. Rafa Garcia just fought against Drakkar Klose and lost. Good scrap though, but still, I'm just saying, he lost to Chris Grottesmacher as well. I feel like Terrance McKinney is going to get a first round finish here. This is Erick Gonzalez coming off a KO loss, which doesn't look too good for him. And it's also like the first KO loss of his entire career. And that's the mindset he's going to be coming into this fight with. Oh, the first time I got KO'd was last time. I've had a bit of time off, and now they're giving me Terrance McKinney. I think it's a recipe for Erick Gonzalez to freeze up early on and then get smacked out by Terrance McKinney by TKO in the first round. I'm going with Terrance McKinney getting this one done. However, Gonzalez is a big guy for the division. He's got a reach advantage. I think McKinney's going to be too quick, too early for him. If he does go too hard early on, maybe Gonzalez could come back, but Gonzalez ain't Drew Dober. So I'm going to be going with Terrance McKinney getting a KO win here. Moving on, Up the card, Sam Alvey versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. I'm going to be going with Michal Oleksiejczuk here, of course, over Sam Alvey. You might be able to pick Sam Alvey because he's often can make a Bryan Spann fight, a split decision that he arguably could win, which is crazy. Crazy looking back at it, really doesn't make any sense sometimes with Sam Alvey. So he goes to a draw with Daton Young and then can't even get past Wellington Turman and it just gets smoked by Brendan Allen and Julian Marquez. It's a very interesting career that Sam Alvey's had, but there is a trend recently where those chances of upsets are going away. You know what I mean? 2020, he had a couple of close fights, and then 2021, lost to Turman, lost to Julian Marquez, and then, of course, lost recently to Brendan Allen, and he's been finished a few times recently as well, so I think Michal Oleksiejczuk is a very underrated guy for the division. He lost to Dustin Jacoby, but he didn't get smoked by him. He made it a bit of a scrap, made it a close fight, made it competitive, but of course lost that fight quite clearly. He's got good toughness, good durability. He beat Shamil Gamzatov, melted him in the first round, and that's a very big win to have. Shamil Gamzatov's no joke. He was 14-0 before that fight against Michal, so he also beat Modestas Bukauskas in a close fight. I get it. He had a close fight, but I don't see Sam Alvey having the grappling to deal with Michal. I also don't see him in any way being able to deal with him on the feet. So I'm going to go first round TKO with a body shot for Michal Oleksiejczuk against Sam Alvey, getting some momentum back in his career. He's also only 27, so he's going to be making these improvements. Moving on, up the card, to the main card, Ariane Lipski versus Priscila Cachoeira. I'm going to be going with Ariane Lipski here over Priscila Cachoeira. Priscila Cachoeira, listen, in hindsight, a loss, let's be real, to Yi Yong Kim. Doesn't look too good. Yi Yong Kim's been a bit of a slide recently, just lost recently to Jocelyn Edwards. She got choked out in the first round by Gillian Robertson, and Ariane Lipski's pretty good on the ground herself. You know what I'm saying? She's good on the ground. She can make stuff work on the ground. She can get her grappling going. We've seen her do well on the ground. Occasionally she meets some opponents like Antonina Shevchenko and Montana De La Rosa that can beat her, but that's a little bit of another step up. But she beats Mandy Bomb, gets her to the ground occasionally, submits Luana Carolina in the first round with a knee bar, and I feel as though she's just going to be a little bit too much on the ground. She also beat Silvana Gomez Juarez, who is quite good herself in the hands department. So I don't see her getting finished by Priscila Cachoeira with any power or anything like that, which is something that Cachoeira does have. And you look at some of the wins that Cachoeira has, Gina Mazzani, Shayna Dobson, and she lost to Luana Carolina herself. So I'm going to be going with Ariane Lipski, getting this one done, using her grappling, and winning this one by 30-27, unanimous decision, looking sexually appeasing as she does so. Moving on, up the card, Augusto Sakai versus Sergey Spivak. I'm going to be going with Sergey Spivak. I think he's a great fighter. I'd love to fight him. Sergey Spivak's an amazing fighter. I think he's a good fighter at heavyweight. I think he's a young guy as well, so 27 years of age at heavyweight. Still going to be making improvements. They list his height. Sergey Spivak. I can't help but think that in my head. Tom Aspinall saying his name whenever I read his name. I think he's a great fighter. They may list him as 6'2", but he's a big guy. I think he was the same height as me when I fought him. 6'5", 6'4" inches tall. But they list him at 6'3". Dude's taller than Ngannou in some pictures, so I think he's a deceptively large heavyweight. He's getting in better and better shape as the career goes on. Obviously can afford a nutritionist now after a couple of decent wins. And 78 inches of reach. I feel as though it's a problem for Augusto Sakai, who's just fat and shit, really, is the main problem with Augusto Sakai. He's a fat slob of a mess. I just don't think he's got a chance here. He's too timid. He's too scared. He's been KO'd 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row, yep. Split decision to Blagoy Ivanov. He arguably should have lost. He beat Tybura, but where's them performances? Sometimes he comes out there and pressures and looks good, and that's why I pick him sometimes. But it's just too inconsistent. And I feel as though recently, since he's been KO'd a couple of times, his fight's too fearful to pressure someone and get that flab all over him and start pressuring him. And I feel as though Sergey Spivak is going to get this one done by decision at 29-28 in a close fight. Augusto Sakai will make it difficult, make him some problems, and I think Sergey Spivak will adjust. We saw him scrambling with Olenek and ending up on top and doing good there, so we know he's got grappling credential enough to stay out of danger. He's also flipping Greg Hardy on his head and beating him in the first round, so he's got good grappling himself. I just think he's got a good enough game to beat Sergey Spivak. to beat Augusto Sakai, sorry. Sergey Spivak gets this one done. Moving on to the Ultimate Fighter finale fights. Not too interested in these because I don't see many of them having potential, other than maybe one of them. Brogan Walker, Juliana Miller. Watched their fights on the Ultimate Fighter. Brogan Walker's got more experience as a pro, at least. She looks better technically than Juliana Miller. She had better performances than Juliana Miller. And I feel as though this is going to be an easy one for Brogan Walker. I'm siding with her. I've watched both of their fights. She seems more technical in most parts of the fight. And Juliana Miller just didn't seem as impressive on the Ultimate Fighter. So that's all we really have to go off of. I'm going to go with Brogan Walker. She seems like sort of like the top level girl that's going to be coming out of that show. I think that was pretty obvious after her last one. Okay, this girl's probably going to win. I rewatched some of her fights on Tough. She looks good. So I'm going to be going with Brogan Walker. Hidden experience as well. Add on the Tough experience too. She's basically 10-2 right now. So it's a good record to have. And I'll pick her to beat Juliana Miller here. I think the UFC want Juliana Miller to win and pull off the upset. And so they can promote her because, I mean, you could crank one out to her if you're, like, feeling down and, like, pawn's not up and that type of stuff. And she's young as well. Like, she's 26. She's got a career ahead of her that she can sort of make for herself. But I'm still going to be going with Brogan Walker here. I reckon she gets this one done. And she's just a little bit too good at striking for it. And I think it'll be a 30-27 decision. Moving on. Mohammed Usman versus Zach Puaga. I'm going to be going with Zach Puaga over Mohammed Usman. Zach Puaga looked good in his second fight and got a good finish over Jordan Heidemann. Now, Jordan Heidemann he's got a bad chin, if anything. That's his problem in the heavyweight division. So I'm not too impressed by the TKO. I'm just impressed by the technique that he showed. Like, he had a good shot. He landed it well. He pulled it off. He's 5-0, undefeated as a heavyweight. And also, I know it's crazy to even mention this, but a true test of skill as a heavyweight, can you beat someone from a lower weight class? He beat Marcus Perez on Cage Warriors, and I watched that one live. So that's something I remember of him, and that's something I knew of him going into the Ultimate Fighter. He's beaten some decent guys on the regional scene. You know what I'm saying? He had an amateur career, 5-0, and he beat Marcus Perez, who's a middleweight, and is, like, okay technically. So if you can outdo him in a decision, especially when he's weighing, like, what, I think he weighed 215 pounds for that fight or something like that, 210. Like, it's not like he weighed in as a middleweight, like, 200 pounds. Like, he packed on a bit of muscle, showed up a bit bigger for that fight. And I feel as though he's going to get this one done, okay? I like his chances. And Mo Usman, he just doesn't seem to be like his brother. Maybe he's not on the same stack. Maybe Usman's hogging all the roids at breakfast time. Last one to finish dinner doesn't get the fucking trend. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the competition they had as a kid, and Usman's just a bit of a faster eater than him. But I feel as though Mo Usman's just a little bit of a letdown. His last performance against Eduardo Perez, commit to a shot. Even against Mitchell Sipe, commit to some punches. Commit to something. Because it was embarrassing, both of his performances. So I'm going to go Zach Puaga, Samoan chin, powerful Nigerian guy. I reckon that I'm going to see the Samoan guy take a couple of big shots early, put the pressure on Mohammed Usman, and break him down like we saw against Brandon Sales, the fat Chris Weidman at PFL that choked him out in the second round. That's not even a good fighter himself. So I'm going to trust in the Samoan chin of Puaga to keep him alive in this one, through some danger and adversity, and then sort of rally a comeback, end up on top, and start beating up Usman as the fight goes on. I'll say third round ground and pound TKO for Puaga. Moving on up the card to another fight, Vicente Luque versus Geoff Neal. Fine, I'll go Luque. God, you guys. No! I'm going to go with Geoff Neal. I think Luque takes too long to get going in 3-rounders, and Neal's got a power that will make Luque respect him and not be able to just walk him down and start a firefight with him. I'm not swayed by you guys. I saw some people in my chat saying, no, pick Luque. I love Luque. It's going to be a great fight. That's why I love Luque. I don't love Luque because he's going to be a dominant champ. No, it's just he has a style of fighting where it takes him too long to get going sometimes. And I feel as though Geoff Neal is going to be able to keep his range and keep it effectively. There's just certain fights in Luque's career where someone can just keep their space and distance and not get into a vicious scrap with him. And they make it quite a bit of a problem. Even Nico Price, who engaged in a scrap with him, made it a bit of a problem as well. You know, Randy Brown was doing very well in that fight until the second round knee that he got hit with. He even took down Luque and stayed on top of him. I feel as though Geoff Neal is educated enough and stable enough and well-conditioned enough as a fighter to stick at range, make Luque pay for trying to close the distance, and I don't think he's ever going to get into that scrapping, brawling range that Luque wants from him, and I feel as though he's going to edge out a 29-28 decision. Win the first round clearly, maybe stumble Luque for a second, but Luque recovers himself. Round 2, barely win round 2. Round 3, win it early on, get beaten up towards the end, but be able to survive. 29-28 is what I'm going to go with here for Geoff Neal. I just think he's a little bit too smart and calculated as a striker, with the power enough to get respect from Luque, for Luque to just walk him down like he can do against skinnier, less powerful opponents in the welterweight division. Doesn't have the takedown threat. I still think it's going to be enough to get him the win just with a striking. Geoff Neal gets this one done as an underdog. Moving on. Up the card, Thiago Santos versus Jamahal Hill. I'm going to go Jamahal Hill. Thiago Santos lost to David Branch. And I feel as though if Jamahal Hill can put some pressure on him, which he does, he walks down fighters very well. Thiago Santos is very good in the pocket, but Jamahal Hill punches long. You know what I mean? Like, even the hook that he landed on Johnny Walker, that was a rangy hook that he went for. He doesn't, like, get into the pocket and wing shots back and forth. And I feel as though we're going to see Jamahal Hill be able to land some good shots early on and get a TKO finish over Thiago Santos. You got to also look at the age of Thiago Santos here. 38 years of age here against Jamahal Hill. Not giving up too much reach, but still 3 inches of reach against Jamahal Hill that he's going to be giving up. But Jamahal Hill's still going to be making massive improvements, rapid improvements at this point in his career. 10-1, a lot of experience to still gain. And he's had a good moment in a Fight Night main event in his last fight. So it's not like he's going to be not used to the spotlight. Like, maybe he could have been against Paul Craig. Who knows? I'm not trying to give him an excuse. I just like Jamahal Hill here to keep it rangy. He's going to have some problems with maybe some leg kicks, but Thiago Santos don't throw him anymore since that injury, and you don't throw him as well as maybe he used to early on. Body kicks, leg kicks is what I want from Thiago Santos. After those surgeries, it's not something I can rely on him to do if a couple of them get checked, or if a couple of his body kicks hit an elbow or two, you know what I'm saying? So, the old Santos, I reckon, would have beaten Jamahal Hill. I just don't see the same guy anymore. So I'm going to see Jamahal Hill pressuring him down, walking him down, landing some good combos, and then maybe just like landing a good straight 1-2 right on Thiago Santos against the cage at the end of round 2. After a little bit of a scrap in round 1, a bit of a scrap in round 2, Hill gets it done and sort of comes out on top after taking some damage maybe, and it's a bit of a tough fight, but I'm going to go with Jamahal Hill getting this one done. Santos, David Branch pressured him and KO'd him, so I'm going to trust into Jamahal Hill to get this one done. Although I don't know how much to count a Johnny Walker win. However, look at Santos' Johnny Walker win. He made Johnny Walker look good. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Jamahal Hill, second round TKO. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.